Thank you, sir. Now I'm going to ask you to give one more round of applause, but before you do, I'm going to tell you why. And that round of applause is for my wife. And I'm going to tell you why first. It was some years ago. I had just finished doing something. I think it was winning the Mr. Universe for the seventh time. And I said to her, I said, baby, it's hard being me. And she said, you know what? It's harder being me. So let's give her a round of applause. One thing I can say is we have a lot of fun, we laugh together, and we really, really enjoy life. She's my best friend, my girlfriend, my wife, my business partner, my ministry partner. What else? Everything. Yeah. Best friend on this planet, but Jesus is my best friend in the universe, so she doesn't mind taking second to him. Today, you know, is for me, this is very, very special, and I'll tell you why. Every opportunity that I get to stand in front of people, I feel privileged, but I also feel a tremendous responsibility that whatever I say, it may be the last time I ever have contact with those people. So today may be the last time I ever see you guys, and I want to leave something with you that's very impactful, that's possibly life-changing. That's my goal. And so this is, like I said, a great opportunity. I do a lot of different things, including life coaching, which I really, really enjoy. And it's from a great deal of experience. I've had the opportunity to see the world and to experience a lot of things in the few years I've been here, 54 years. I just met a gentleman. He told me, you're 63? Yes, sir. So it's only a few years in comparison. But I really love life, and I can't say that I've always felt that way. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've done, where I've been, and how I got there. Now, for me, looking at where I am today compared to where I came from, most people would say it was an impossibility. Because when I was just a kid, I was predicted to be dead or in jail before I turned 18 years old. Most of the people that I grew up with, that was their fate, death or prison. So I've only murdered 2 people in my whole life. I'm just kidding. About the murder part of it. The rest of it is true. But most of the people that I know, they're either dead or in jail. And when I go back to where I'm from, Indianapolis, Indiana, people look at me and say, you remind me of this guy that I knew, but you couldn't be him because he was supposed to be dead or in jail by now. So to them, it's really an anomaly of what has happened. 3 years old, I was given away as a child. I'm one of 4 children, and I was the only one that was given away. I'm not the oldest child or the youngest child, but the second to the oldest. If I was the oldest child, my parents could have said, well, we're too young to raise kids, we don't know what we're doing, so we're going to get rid of this first one, and we'll keep the second, third, and fourth. But that wasn't the case. I was a middle child. So I always thought there had to have been something horribly wrong with me that they didn't keep me. Well, my parents never got married. They were never married. But I would see my siblings and my mother from time to time, and that only reiterated the fact that I wasn't good enough or I was unlovable. The reason I'm telling you that is because as a child, you don't have the ability to place blame. And you start to build hardcore belief systems inside that later on are very, very hard to change and turn a different direction. We are our historical thoughts, feelings, emotions, and words that we've heard. That's who we are today. Those words that we heard as children, those words that we heard and the circumstances that we went through actually make us who we are. And those things can become a box to protect us. We use those things and we find things to reiterate and confirm those things, and they become a protection to us. But on the other hand, they also become a prison that we can't get out of. We're locked into these belief systems, and we'll find things that will only reiterate or confirm those belief systems. And until those belief systems change, we're stuck. Now, the four most important areas of my life and of most people's lives are faith, family, fitness, and finances. Those are the four areas. And you can be taught something, and in your belief system, it is hard-coded, but in your thought process or in your conscious mind, it could be the complete opposite. I'll give you a quick example of what I'm talking about. I'm a child, and I see my parents, and we're relatively poor. And I've been taught my whole young life that money is the root of all evil. How many have ever heard that? Money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil. So deep inside, I've got this hard-coded belief system that money is evil. So now that I become an adult, that is my belief system that I've developed or that has been developed inside of me as a child growing up. And now that I'm older, I've got a family, I've got kids, and I want a nice house, I want a nice car, I want to travel, but hard-coded inside of me are sabotage tendencies because deep down inside, money is evil. So somehow, before I can ever really connect financially to something, that belief system absolutely has to change. Otherwise, it's going to destroy my ability to ever grow in that area. And we have hard-coded belief systems when it comes to raising kids. We have hard-coded belief systems. Some of you that are married, you probably have seen this, where you have one parent that grew up in a house where you got spankings. How many ever got a spanking when you were younger? Everybody. Did you ever get a spanking, sweetheart? She got a spanking. How many grew up in a house where you never got a spanking? Never got a spanking. So you have a spouse that grew up with spankings and said, whenever I was naughty, I got a spanking. You have a spouse that says, well, whenever I grew up, I got put in timeout. So when the husband goes to spank the child, the wife who never was spanked says, you're abusing my kid. You know, and deep down inside, she feels abused because that's part of her belief system. In every area of our life, we have belief systems. I'll tell you one that me and my wife had. When I was a kid, we took baths. We took baths all the time. And then there was other people that take showers. She took showers her whole life. How many took baths their whole life? How many took showers? Something weird about this. Let me just share this with you. I might get in the bathtub and take a bath. And after I take a bath, I feel like, oh, the water was all over my body. I washed myself with soap. I get out of the tub. I feel great, you know. And I look at my wife. She's taking a shower. I'm thinking, man, the water's running off of her. She just wipes herself off and all these things. And it's really different. I'm saying you didn't really soak in the bath water. The water just ran off your body, and you really didn't scrub deep and get your body really clean. And she looks at me and said, well, you know what? You got in the bath water and you scrubbed your body, but the water was filled with dirt, and when you stood up, the dirt got right back on your body. So I'm thinking, but I was raised like this, and this is the way we do it. This is how you get your body clean. So now I take a bath and then I get in the shower. But I say that to say that we have these belief systems, and until we change those belief systems, these are very, very light, but there are deep-rooted belief systems that are given to us without us ever making that decision. And when I was left as a child, there was a hard-coded belief system that I was unlovable, that I wasn't worthy, that other people were better than me. So I began to act out and role play. I began to act unlovable. I began to prove to myself and other people that I was not a person to be around. I was given to this family, and I would hear my the lady who was raising me talk on the phone to my father. And she would say to him, come and get this child. I'm standing right here. He's another mouth to feed, and we can't afford to feed this kid. They didn't want me, so I'm listening, and my father didn't come and get me. So once a month, my father would come over. I loved it when my father came over, but I hated when my father came over. So it was, I wanted to see him because he was a blood relative. He was my dad, but I didn't want to see him because every time he came over, he beat me. And I remember the last time he beat me, the family said I did something that I didn't do, so he would beat me to appease them so that I could stay there another week, another month, however long it was I was going to stay. So the last time he beat me, I said, Dad, I didn't do it. And something inside of me was changing at this time. I said, Dad, I didn't do it. And he continued to hit me with an extension cord. Back in those days, I'm tell you how dated I am. We had toasters where you would take the extension cord out of the toaster. I don't think they make those anymore. And so I would hide the extension cords because that's what I would get a beating with. And so he came over, he said, where's the extension cord? I'm like, really? You asking me where the extension cord is? Are you kidding? I'm not going to reveal where the extension cord, I have no idea. He found the extension cord. So he starts to hit me with the extension cord. And I said, Dad, I didn't do it. And he hits me more. And I look at him in this stern face. I say, I'll never cry for you again. And all of a sudden, my tear ducts dried up. And when I said, I'll never cry, when I said, I'll never cry for you again, he bit his bottom lip. That means, when he does that, means he's digging in. So he bit his bottom lip, and he started hitting me with this extension cord. And you guys are wondering, where is this going? You'll get in just a moment. But he started beating me with this extension cord, and the tears dried up in my eyes. And I didn't cry again until after I was 28 years old. My heart became so hardened, and I was suicidal by the time I was 13. I was on the streets by the time I was 15. So when they said he'd be dead or in jail by 18, they were as close to being correct as they possibly could be. But somewhere along the line, something changed inside of me. And this is what I've come to understand. And that is, each one of us, see, when I was a 3-year-old child, you couldn't see that there was anything different about me. I looked like any other 3-year-old child. But I really believe that there's something brilliant in each one of us. And I believe that we are here not because we're to search for a purpose, but because we already have one. We already have a purpose. We've just got to find out what that purpose is. But there's already a purpose for you. But our society has a narrow guideline to judge who we are. And it actually decreases our ability to be creative, to figure out who we really are. And I'll give you, I'll tell you a little bit of what I'm talking about. We say that if she's really pretty, she should be a model. If he's smart, maybe he should be a doctor, a lawyer, or some type of, or scientist. Or if that person is very athletic, he's going to be an athlete. So they look at these, we have these narrow views and how to judge what a person is and whether they're good or bad or what they're going to be or what they're not going to be. But we have to expand that and get out of the box because there is a brilliance in each one of us. There is something that we each are supposed to accomplish, and we are brilliant at whatever it is. I always use a fish for an example. We take a fish, take it out of the water, lay it on its side. It's ridiculous what it looks like. He lays on his side and he flaps, and it just looks ridiculous. But the moment you put him in his environment, in the water, we see the gracefulness, we see the brilliance that he was created for. And I think what happens with a lot of us is we have these guidelines, these narrow guidelines, and we try to fit into what everybody thinks we ought to fit into, or what the world around us told us we should do. Not necessarily verbally, but just our environment. Just our environment. So, with that being said, we need to explore and look a little bit deeper and ask the question, why am I here? What am I supposed to accomplish? There's something brilliant about me. If I take an orange seed and I plant it in Utah, guess what? No fruit. You know what? I planted this entire piece of property with orange seeds and not one grew. I'm a failure, I'm a loser. But if I find me a piece of property in California, take those same orange seeds and plant them in California, all of a sudden I'm a success. Why? I'm in my environment. Sometimes we're struggling and we're fighting against a place, we're fighting against dimensions, we're fighting against something we never should be fighting against because we were never intended to do it. One more example before I go on. We have a riding mower here, and we have Mario Andretti's race car here. They both have four wheels, they both have engines, but clearly they're not both race cars. But I put them both on the racetrack. One's going to be very, very successful. The other might finish, but he's never going to win. Wasn't created for it. Wasn't designed for it. He's not in his environment. So he goes around the track, and he goes as fast as he can, and his engine is revving up, and he's really pushing it, and he finishes the next day. But he did finish. And all of a sudden, sadly, he goes outside of the racetrack and, I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to go across the lawn. And then all of a sudden, this extra propeller that's on my stomach, it's cutting grass. Man, this feels good. Why? It's what it was created to do. And sometimes, just because we have a physical body, we have a brain, we have arms, we put ourselves in positions that we never should have been in. We never should have been in. So we've got to search deep and find out, what is the brilliance inside of you? What is the brilliance inside of me? I thought there is no brilliance inside of me. I didn't learn to read until, you're gonna laugh at this, maybe, or you're gonna think, man, that is pathetic. I didn't learn to read till I was 28 years old. I mean, I could not read until I was 28 years old. I spent most of my time in school praying that my feet would thaw out because ice would come in the bottom of my shoes. See, now I have shoes that they actually attach here. When I was younger, this part didn't attach, and ice would go in there, snow would go in there. I would sit in class, and after you do that several years, you're so far behind that you make up things not to be able to participate in class, and nobody knows that you're illiterate till you have to fill out an application. So when I was 28 years old, I learned to read, and strangely enough, I ended up becoming a professor. Couldn't read till 28, and that shows that you can go from here to here. It's possible, regardless of where you are. This is pretty interesting. If you look at this slide, you have very few people in the population that start over here. Very few. And then you have very few that ever reach true brilliance because it requires passion. It requires a great deal of passion to really find your brilliance and become that champion. Now, one thing I learned years ago in winning, I won over 250 championships in bodybuilding. 21 of those championships were international. But there was a quest inside to be a champion. And little did I know, winning a championship didn't make me a champion. Because a championship is only an event. And when that championship is over, I'm still the same person. There's no difference in me. Someone else can win the championship next year. So the difference in being a champion and winning a championship is winning a championship is separated from who you are. But being a champion is a lifestyle. So I went on a quest to develop principles and skills of how to be a champion. How can I be a champion? And that's in faith, family, fitness, and finance. Think about it. If I make billions of dollars and my health fails me, the money means nothing. If my family is a wreck, then I can't even enjoy the money that I have. And there's a scripture that says, if a man should gain the whole world and lose his soul, what is he profited? So those are the 4 areas that I want to see balanced in my life. Those 4 major areas. And I've searched the globe to try to find mentors or people that live a life where they're completely balanced. And I'm yet to find someone that has all 4 areas balanced. So you know what? My quest is to be that guy. And there's a continuation of growing in all 4 areas. All 4 areas. So hold on, Chris, not yet. I want you to look at this. We have some people that are non-existent, below average, average, above average, excellent, extraordinary, and then champions. The problem with people that are excellent and extraordinary is they lose passion. They're satisfied where they are. And they are, completely satisfied. There are certain words that motivate us. Certain words that motivate us. And one of those words is love. Love is a motivator. But also hate. Hate is also a motivator. I was told, don't ever say you hate, because hate is a strong word. But hate is not a bad word. Hate can be a great word. If I went up to you and said, man, you know what? I hate you. That would not be good. That would not be good. And he would probably think that was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me, honey, today. I went to this meeting, this guy walked up to me, shook my hand, and frowned and said, I hate you. Hate, depending on how it's used and the reference, that's what makes it a bad word. I hate where I came from. So that hate became a passion to get out of the condition that I was in and never to return. Get out of the condition that I was in, never, ever to return. I hate everything about my upbringing because I know how damaging it is and how it affects a life and how it builds inside of a person belief systems that are very destructive. We see people, when I was 4 years old, they gave me liquor. And then they spinned me around in a circle. And when they spin me around in a circle, they saw this little drunk kid stagger, and everybody laughed. All the adults, they laughed at it. That could have went 1 or 2 ways. It could have led to me being an alcoholic. It could have led to me being a drug addict. It could have led to many things negatively, but I don't drink, period. One reason I don't like the taste of it. Another reason I was told not to. I don't like to drink. But what if I would have became an alcoholic and I would have, in order to satisfy my addictions, the same people who gave me the liquor, I'm robbing their homes now. It had a start. There was a basis. There was a foundation. There was a seed planted that turns into something, hard-coded belief system that I'm supposed to drink. It's funny. It's fun. I can make people laugh when I drink. And I want to make people laugh. I want to fit in. So I'm going to drink. That could have taken root. But once I become of age, guess what? They don't want to hear the reason I'm an alcoholic, the reason I'm a menace to society. So regardless of what is taking place in my youth, there comes a time and a place where I have to take responsibility for my actions. So I hate that, so I go directly against it. There was a story where there were two boys, and these two boys, they were twins, and one was an executive, and one was an alcoholic. And they watched their father drink his paycheck away, so they were impoverished. Well, when they grew up, one became an alcoholic, and they said, "Man, why do you drink like that?" He says, "Well, it's my dad's fault. You know, he drunk all the time, and I took it on from my dad, and I just became just like my dad." And the other young man that was an executive, they took him to a business meeting, and everybody was drinking, and they brought him over a martini. He said, "I don't drink." And they said, "Why? Everybody's enjoying themselves. Why don't you drink?" He said, "I watched my dad drink. I watched him run our family into the ground, so I can't drink." So there comes a time where we have to make a choice. And when it comes to our lives and what we have become, we don't have jurisdiction over how we start. We can't go back and get different parents. We can't even be born in a different place. None of that is up to us. But now that I'm here and I've become of age, I can't change my start, but I can determine what my finish is. And I don't know about you, but I am going to finish well. I am going to finish well. Okay, Chris. So hate becomes a passion. That's baby Ron. I looked a little bit like that when I was a baby. Probably not that cute, though. Come on, one more. Right there. Okay, this is represents my mother and 3 siblings. And I'm on the outside watching my mother and my 3 siblings wondering, why didn't she love me? What's so horrible about me that I can't be with my mom? And I'm hearing these other kids telling me, why don't you go home? Why don't you go home to your mom? This is not your mom. This is our mom. And spending night after night after night crying in bed, wanting my mom. Crying, "Mom, I want my mom." "Shut up, you don't have a mom. We found you, we dug you up. We used the bathroom and looked in the toilet and there you were." Those are the kind of things I heard. As a kid, that was very, very hurtful. Come on. So, instead of being a person that goes to prison, I became an inventor. Mine became very, very creative because my mind was clear now. We have seeds inside of us. Those seeds could be books, businesses. Those seeds could be a great family, being a great dad, whatever it might be. But one of the seeds that was inside of me was being able to invent. And these are just a few of the things that I've invented. And instead of not being able to read, actually becoming an author. Man, what an anomaly that must be. And instead of being in prison or in jail, becoming a world-class athlete. Instead of being in the news, on the news. I hope you guys know the difference. He murdered somebody, so he's in the news. On the news, having something that's actually newsworthy. Not just training, but training trainers, teaching them how to help other people. Great family. I mean, best thing that ever happened to me. I used to be afraid of people because, people represented pain. If you got close to me, everybody that was ever supposed to be close to me were painful. And instead of having no faith, becoming what the Christian world considers one of the leaders of faith. Instead of being coached, and I was a coach's dream. Coach's dream. You tell me to do it and say it can't be done, I'll show you how many ways I could do it. Becoming a life coach, becoming a speaker. I actually trained the military as well, the 19th Special Forces Unit. But I say all that to say that you can be whatever you were designed to be, and we need to take the limit off of ourselves and become a champion. Not just in one area, but there are so many facets to who we are if we would only explore those areas. And some of the things that really helped me, one of the things that really helped me is being able to visualize. I'm a very visual person. Now, the last time I competed was in 2008, and what had happened is I won the Mr. Universe, the Mr. World, and the Mr. Olympia 6 times apiece. Now, I'm a man of faith. Now, think about that. 6 times apiece. 6, 6, 6. I can't retire at 666 and that be my fate. For the rest of my life, I'm 666. So, sweetheart, I got to do it one more time. Okay, so I go back and win 7, 7, 7. But we have something that's in front of us, and it's a wall. I said to my son, he came to me and he said, Dad, I want to compete. We have 10 kids. I have a 36-year-old who's really, really awesome. But my son came to me and he said, Dad, I want to compete. I said, you've got really, really good genetics. My kids and my grandkids are strange creatures. Even the little girls, my wife will tell you, you lay them down on their stomachs with no clothes on, and they all look just like I did when I was a kid. They've got these little muscles on their bodies. I have a daughter who played high school football, and I remember one game, she hit this guy, this running back, knocked his helmet off. And his teammate says, man, there was a girl that just hit you. He said, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So she takes her helmet off, does her hair like that. So he's just embarrassed and feels horrible that a girl could hit him like that. But they all have these little muscles. So my son says, I want to compete. I said, you probably could do that. You got pretty decent genetics. You could do well. And he says, well, no, I want to compete on an international level. I said, well, you probably could be pretty competitive. And he said, no, I want to win every title you won. And I said, now, boy, you got a problem. Now you got a problem. It's going to take more than just having a desire to do that. In order to do what I've done, you've got to have what I have. And there are no secrets. There are no secrets. I could tell you everything that it required. Everything it requires. That's not the hard part. It's doing it, applying it. And sometimes we know what to do, we just don't apply the principles. Some principles cross over into every area of our life. And so I told him, I said, look at the wall. So he looks at the wall, and I said, tell me what you see. He says, I see the wall. I said, no, look at the wall. He looks at the wall. I said, what do you see? He said, Dad, I see the wall. Look again. He looks at the wall, and I said, what do you see? So he starts looking as if something was going to jump off the wall. He said, Dad, I just see the wall. I'm sorry. I said, that's your problem. You've got to see past the wall. You've got to see past the wall to success. And when you see your success, you go and grab it. And you drag it in, kicking and screaming, because it's yours. That's the kind of passion you've got to have if you want it. Once you see it, make it your own. And so we have things that are in front of that wall. I'm afraid of success. Where did that come from? Where did you develop that? I don't believe in me. Who told you not to believe in yourself? What's so bad about you that you don't believe in yourself? You got to go all the way back, find out where that came from, destroy it, and then move forward. Laziness. Oh, we got to get rid of that one. You can't do anything and be lazy. Opinion of others. I'm going to come back to this one. Opinion of others. That one is really, really important. Doubt. Past failures. If you doubt, you go into whatever you do apprehensively. No aggressiveness. Past failures. Fears. Excuses. Opinion of others. There is something about us, each one of us. Our inner self wants to hear what we have to say about us. That's why people always say, do positive affirmations. Tell yourself positive things. That doesn't go quite far enough, but it's a good place to start. How many feel that you're fairly attractive? Okay, that's good. How many feel you're not very attractive? Okay, well, think about this. Have you ever seen a person that you say, oh, you look really nice today, and they make an excuse? They've been told somewhere along the line, they've been made to feel less than. So you go in the mirror and you say, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. Say it 10 times. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. But you hear this voice that says, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're lying to yourself. So whatever it is that you are affirming, there has to be something stable that you can go to, because always the question why comes up. Why do you think you're beautiful? Why do you think you're this? Why do you think you're that? I'm a great husband. I'm a great husband. And I tell myself that. I'm a great husband. And if she said, no, you're not, I say, I'm a great husband. I don't care what you say. Because I do those things that great husbands are supposed to do. I do those things that great husbands are supposed to do, and I'm going to continually get better until eventually she says I'm a great husband. She'll say, you know what? I've said you're not a great husband long enough. I can't say it anymore, because I'm going to continue to get better. It's not what other people say about you that matters. It's what you say about yourself. It's not what other people think about you that matters. It's what you think about yourself. It's not what other people feel about you that matters. It's what you feel about yourself. So you've got to start changing. Well, I'm not saying all of you. I'm just saying in general. Some of you look at me like, I don't need to change. I like myself. Well, I didn't like myself. I would look in the mirror and I would say negative things to myself in the mirror. I hate you. And I really did. But I look in the mirror and I say different things now. I'm not going to tell you what I say, but my wife will tell you. I say things different now, because I realize that there are two words, I am, and whatever comes behind that I am is what I actually become. I can say, I am so tired. And guess what? I'm ready to go to sleep. I am so weak. I am not good enough. I can't do that. He could do it, but I can't. When I say I am, something inside of me connects to I am, and the more I say I am, the more I become that thing which I am. But I've got to have a why to stand on, to confirm it. It only reiterates. So other people's opinions are second. And what happens with opinions is my mother can say, you're stupid. You're stupid. You have to be careful what you call your kids, because sometimes they'll live self-fulfilling prophecies. You're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. And they come home with F's on their report card. And they say, here, Mom. You say, why do you have all these F's on my report card? Because I'm stupid. That's what you told me. And I became, and I am, what you've said I am all these years. Real quick, because I got a lot to cover in the next 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. How much time do I have, Chris? 15, okay. So real quick. This Jewish lady had a son that went to, they just came from Jerusalem. They were going to an American school. And this kid was getting poor grades. And he'd come home, he's really sad, and he showed his mother's report card. And she says, Mom, I don't know why I have these D's and these C's, D's, and F's on my report card. I thought I was doing pretty good, but, the work is hard. And she said, son, you are a genius. You are just genius. And the problem is your teacher does not know how to teach a genius. And that's the problem. So bring your homework home, and we're going to go through it together. And she went through it with him for 6 months, going through his homeworks. His grades start gradually going up. After the second year, straight A student. But she approached it completely different. She told him he was genius, and then she brought the genius out in him. Instead of saying, you're stupid, you've got to work harder, you're stupid. He started to enjoy school because of his mother's approach. Sometimes it's just the words that we say and how we phrase them that makes the big difference. So we're going to get over our fears and opinions of others, especially if they're negative. See, my wife, she tells me, she says, I'm not going to tell her, okay? Go ahead, Chris. Will. Will is powerful. One of the things that I do when I train and coach people is train their will. Because your will, some people die because they lose the will to live. Will is so powerful. But will is something that comes from deep within. And when we learn how to train our will is like any other muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Your will is powerful. Premeditation. I love this one. I premeditate everything. You know, you'll get more time for premeditated murder than you will for murder. Because premeditated murder is more serious. Because you thought it through and you did it intentionally. There are some things in life that we need to premeditate and do intentionally. For example, I'm not flattered if the opposite sex approaches me and wants to develop a relationship. That doesn't flatter me. You know why? Because I've already premeditated that situation, and there's nothing good. I've already premeditated, but if I don't premeditate it, I might even get flattered. Hey, Ron, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. Oh, I think you look so good today, and I just like to spend some time with you. Let me see. No, I don't want to disappoint people. Well, maybe we could have lunch or something. No. I've already premeditated. What's the worst scenario that could happen? What's the best scenario that could happen? So I premeditate, and when something like that happens, I automatically think you're coming against my relationship with the most important person to me. You're coming against my best friend and my relationship in the whole universe. And if something did happen, I'd have to live with it the rest of my life and die with it, or die because of it, because she would kill me. And what destruction would happen to this relationship if something happened? So I'm angry with you. I'm not impressed. I'm not flattered because I premeditated the outcome. What's the best scenario? What's the worst scenario? So premeditation in all four areas of my life. So I don't live a loose life. I don't live a hard life, but I live a careful life. You'll never find me going to lunch with a woman by myself. I just don't do that. I don't do it. There's no real reason to. I don't have business meetings except with one woman. This is my business partner. So I live a very, very careful life. You'll never find me riding in the car with another woman that's not related to me or my wife. You'll never find that. I just don't do it because I live a careful life. And I don't want my good to be evil spoken of. Come on, Chris. Reassociation. We do this all the time. Have you ever been in a house by yourself? Now, I know men, you're not going to admit this, but I will. You've been in a house by yourself and something falls in the basement and you jump. You think, somebody's broken my house. Somebody's here. Or something bad is wrong. And we get, the hair stands up on our bodies and we go get the baseball bat and we go through the house. Whoever it is, this is how I'm going to whack them with the baseball bat. I'm going to rear back as far. No, I can't swing that hard on that side. I'm going to go on this side. And we go through the house and we see a bowl that's been knocked off the table by the cat. Immediately, the fear subsides and it goes away, and we reassociate the noise that we heard. There are things in our life that we need to develop reassociations for, that we've developed associations that are negative. We need to reassociate. When it comes to our nutrition, when it comes to exercise, sometimes we look at exercise, man, I don't have time for that stuff. I mean, I'd like to, but eating this kind of food, why do I eat that kind of, I need to reassociate. What's a treat and what's not a treat? Is eating poison a treat or eating vegetables a treat? Ew, vegetables. We have to reassociate some things. Go ahead, Chris. I am. We talked about that. What I say that I am. I am what I say that I am. You're a product of what you think of yourself. Have you ever heard of the book, As a Man Thinketh in His Heart, So Is He? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the things that you say about yourself, life and death are in the power of your tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Go ahead. This was a woman. I want to tell you just a little bit about her. I love people. I love, you probably can feel love just oozing out of me. I mean, I just love people. But this lady, I didn't love so much. She actually came to our church, and she's a nurse, fairly smart lady. And she had gone through a lot of trauma in her early life, but this lady I didn't like. And I went home and I prayed about this lady, I prayed about this lady, and I prayed about this lady. I still didn't like her. And I thought she was brought into my life to teach me something. So we meet her, nice, she was nice enough the first time. Her husband, sweetest guy on the planet. So she comes in and says, I want to lose some body fat. I know everything about diet and nutrition. I'm a nurse, and I know how to exercise and everything. I'm thinking, well, you ought to be doing something. So automatically I'm feeling she knows what she should do, but she's not doing it. This is going to be a hard one. So I said, well, one of the first things we do is we take before and after pictures, and I want you to write down for a week everything you put in your mouth. I want you to, tell me what type of exercise you're doing, and I'm going to compare the two. And she says, well, okay. I said, make sure you bring a swimming suit on next week, and we'll get started. So the next week she comes in, and she says, oh, I forgot to bring my swimsuit. And then what did she say?
She says, but I do have my panties and bra on that we could do measurements and pictures.
And I'm like, ugh! I don't want to take pictures of you in your underwear. I don't want to take pictures of you in your underwear. So I said, we'll wait and come back another time. So her husband comes in, and he's bawling and crying, alligator tears. And so then I put my pastor's hat on. And I said, come on in, guys, let's talk. My wife's there, and we're talking. And he says, I just want her to stop doing what she's doing and at least be remorseful because of what she's done. And what she had done is she was a in-home nurse at a church in Seattle. And by the way, I always get signatures and they sign waivers that I can use their pictures. But I didn't want you to see her face because, just in case. But anyway, we sat down, and he says to me, what happened was she was an in-home nurse for a lady who was in the hospital. She had come home, and she was supposed to take care of this lady. This lady had a husband who was an alcoholic. Well, the lady couldn't get out of bed. She was taking care of the lady. So the lady heard something in the other room, and she got out of bed in pain and hobbled in the other room and caught her in the other room with her husband. And she wasn't remorseful about what she did, and her husband was still with her. And he said, she's not even remorseful. Every time I get up to go to work, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know if she's found somebody else, if she's doing the same thing. And I just wanted to repent and be sorry for it. And she's saying, he makes it such a big deal. It's not that big a deal. And I'm like, wow, it's not that big a deal. I said, okay, now you explain the story to me and let me see it from your perspective. She says, well, the lady was coming in the room and we didn't even do much. It was just a few pumps. And I thought, snow cone, you put it on your snow cone. But she was talking about something else. And I thought, this is amazing the way she thinks. But there was something hard-coded in her belief system. I go home again, and I'm angry. We talked to her one more time, and this is what she says to me. She says, oh, I love talking to you about the body, and I love talking to you about scientific stuff and the biomechanics of the body, but my husband, I can't talk to him. I have to dumb down to talk to him. This is the first time I ever heard that term, dumb down. Had to dumb down to even talk to him. And I said, I don't really know what that means. Could you explain what that means? You have to dumb down? Well, I have to talk on a different level so he can and he's sitting right there. And so immediately I'm angry again, and I go home to pray. We're driving in the car, and I'm mad at my wife because of what this lady said. And I said, do you dumb down when you talk to me? And she says, no, that was her, that's not me. She said, it offended me too when she said that. So I prayed concerning her, and I take pictures like this, and I pray over the pictures, and I ask God, I said, God, how can I help this person? And then there was something that was seen here. I just want you to see this, and I'm getting back to those hard-coded belief systems. And as I looked at her and started praying over her body, what are we going to do to bring her back to a place where her body's healthy and it looks normal and she's happy in her body? And I was praying over that, and the Lord said to me that there's a little girl inside of her body. There's a little girl inside of there that never grew up, that has hard-coded belief systems that make her the way she is. And until those belief systems are changed, she's going to be like that. So immediately I want to talk to her again. So we sit down and talk to her. You know what I found out? She was 8 years old. The first person that raped her was who? Her grandfather. Her grandfather. Her grandfather raped her. She told her father what her grandfather did, and then what happened? Then he raped her. She had 3 brothers that raped her. And then what they did is they had a hole in the wall, and they watched their friends rape this little girl. So when she says a few pumps, that relationship coming together with the opposite sex meant nothing to her. Meant nothing. It was stripped and ripped away from her. And unless that little girl gets healed and she changes her belief system and her perspective, she's always going to be a mess. And this guy married a mess. And the Lord said, there's a little girl inside. Now I want you to look at these three pictures, 1, 2, 3, and tell me if you see a little girl. Now look at picture number 1. Look at picture number 2. Now look at picture number 3. Where do you see the little girl? In picture number 1? How many would say picture number 1? How many would say picture number 2? 1. How many would say they see the little girl in picture number 3? 3. The picture is actually, this is amazing, in number 1. This is a little girl. This is the little girl's buttocks, and her legs are strapped around her waist, and the little girl is curled up inside of her. That's what all of this is. That's that little girl inside of her that hasn't grown up yet. And so when I saw that, I began to bawl and cry and think about how much emotional and mental pain this woman lives in every single day. So we start working on her belief systems, start working on her will, start working on changing some things in her life. Real quick, Pastor Rick Curry weighs well over 300 pounds, did the same thing. His wife was weighs over 360. And with him, his wife is afraid that he's going to die. He's helping everybody else, not taking care of himself. Internally, he had some things that needed to be dealt with. So we see here, this is him 145 pounds later. After dealing with some of the issues, changing his will, doing some premeditation, doing some things that could really, really change his life, he was able to lose the weight. Now, every time she sees me, she cries and said, "You gave me my husband back." Next one. Dan, he promised me he was going to take my Mr. Universe title. He didn't take it, but lot better. Go to the next one. I'm hurrying now. Ginger, she weighed 232 pounds. That's my memory as well. 232. Horrible situation that she lived in. She wrote a letter to herself. And it was the weirdest thing. She wrote a letter and said, "I got a letter today." And I said, "What was the letter?" I said, "Tell me about the letter." She said, "I was written a letter. I'm wonderful, I'm awesome, and I'm beautiful." And she named all those. I said, "Who wrote you that letter?" She said, "I sent it to myself a week ago, and it just got here." And I thought, wow. But from where she came from, it was horrible to where we actually helped her see her way through. Go ahead and switch it. So she went from this to this to this, and 2 months later, she lost 12 more pounds and competed in Greece on the U.S. Bodybuilding team. And she's 50, no, now she's 56. Here she was like 48, 47, 48. Okay, click next one. Lisa, this is 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, some of the weight, go ahead and click. Some of the weight we hold on to is emotional weight. If you have underlying stress that's subconscious, it stays in the subconscious and it releases a hormone called cortisol. If you have a high metabolism and you have cortisol release, it'll aid you. If you have a slower metabolism and you have cortisol release, cortisol is a fat-storing, muscle-wasting hormone. And if you already have a slower metabolism, it's only going to add more excess body fat. So within 6 weeks, turn some things around. She was working out 2 hours a day, eating down to 800 calories. Was it 12? Was it 8? It was 8 to 1,200 calories. We took her calories immediately up to 18 and cut her workout in half and did some other things so we could get rid of some of those issues that she was dealing with. There are 75 reasons why people are overweight and obese. If you live in America and you're obese, it is not all your fault. You have to find out which one of those 75 reasons belong to you and reverse it. Go ahead. Lisa. Her husband told her she had hair damage and divorced her. Hair damage meaning the cellulite. And he left her with 2 kids, wounded spiritually, and then all of a sudden she wants to do something and change her body. So she became Mrs. Utah, one more. Mrs. Utah, Miss Texas, and Cowboy found her in Texas, married her, took her away from us, but no more cellulite. And a lot of that is emotional. Come on. We're wrapping it up now. Chris has told me we got to hurry. One more. This is 12 weeks from here to one more. This is, come on, do it one more time. This is Lila. This is 12 weeks for Lila. Now, Lila is just 12 weeks. You would think that she needed an operation. But no, just 12 weeks and dealing with some of the emotional and mental things that we hold on to and the belief systems of not being good enough, and sabotage tendencies that those belief systems bring. Okay, I'm done. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.